Alright, well, hey guys. I hope everyone is doing well. Today I'm going to try something a little different. I have absolutely nothing in mind to start talking about at this particular moment. And so I'm pushing myself outside of my comfort zone a little bit because I want to get used to public speaking a little bit more. And I guess also because I'm bored, if I'm being honest, and wanted to try something different. And I don't know. I just wanted to be here doing this thing. So with that said, I think it's mission accomplished. I did that. There's not really very much coming to mind, but I am feeling more comfortable with the idea of just starting talking for absolutely no reason other than, just to do it. I do think that, communication is probably one of the most important aspects of any node in reality. I think being comfortable communicating, regardless of how it will be received, is very important. The more information that we can proliferate in as many ways as possible is going to make the overall informational field more robust. Eye contact is something that I'm good at when I'm delivering a specific message, so that's something I'm going to need to work on too. So I'm going to take some mental notes here, and it's just very weird to me to be looking at a screen while I'm talking to it, especially when I'm a little bit nervous, because when I'm nervous, I look at myself and then all I can think is, oh, I'm nervous, and looking at myself is distracting. So there's that, and I'll work on that as well. Sometimes I'll look at the camera, sometimes not, and when I do, I'll try to be more comfortable with it. And I gotta remember that everything is okay, and there is nothing to worry about. Alright, well, this has been a great trial run. Awesome, guys. Thank you for being here and participating. I would like to start doing these lives more frequently, and instead of talking about stuff that I'm thinking about, I would really like to engage with people about what they're thinking about. So if there's anything that anybody is curious about or interested in, feel free to let me know, and maybe I'll do a ramble about it, or I don't know if there's a way to bring in multiple people on these things, but maybe we could get some kind of multiple. Oh, no fucking shit. What's up? Dude. Preston. Man, how you been? How have you been? How have you been, man? What are you up to? Well, fuck, that's so cool. So, yeah, I'm gonna try to maybe figure out how to bring multiple people into conversations, or I'm just scanning the screen if you're wondering what I'm looking at. And then, yeah, I really like to talk about anything and everything. Usually I just talk about consciousness and the nature of reality, because those are my favorite things to think about and talk about. And there's so much more to it, because within those paradigms lies every other thing, and it's all just consciousness and the nature of reality, and I would love to talk about any aspect of it. And I want to hear what other people think about that stuff too. I'm really fascinated by the dichotomy of idealism versus materialism. I really like thinking about how they can coexist as symbiotic partners in a greater understanding, rather than as competitors that are trying to win out the beliefs of all the humans about, what is more real, or what is intrinsically the truth with a capital T. And I like not believing in truth with a capital T. I like not knowing if reality is objective or subjective in nature. I think that, honestly, I will never know the answer to that question. Yo, Bradley. Yeah, just talking to talk, man. I have been inspired by you, actually. Bradley does inspirational videos of all kinds, where he does stuff that I'll never do, like physically work out. I just don't do that. And, it's very inspiring to see that, because I'm like, well, shit, maybe I should. And I guess my gears clicking, and then I think about doing it. I'm just like, no, not yet, but maybe I will. Maybe it'll be because of Bradley. So Bradley does good shit too. And so the nature of reality, inherently subjective. I like the idea of nodes and systems. I think that the human mind is really good about, like, basically making immense complexity out of something as simple as a concept like nodes and systems. I like that every single thing I look at is a system of nodes. And I like that everything that I look at is also a node in a greater system. And then I like that all systems can be nodes and all nodes can be systems. And then I like seeing all the relationships between them. It's really cool because there's like no physical matter when you really get down to it. There's just like nodes and nodes and nodes and nodes all the way down, because even a subatomic particle is just like a series of nodes. A node can be any aspect of any system. And so even with a subatomic particle, you've got this particle, but is it really physical? I mean, it does have spin, but does it literally spin? I don't think it does. And then it's got charge, flip, it's got wavelength, because it's also a wave, right? It really just depends on what math you're running, for what reason, or what you believe you're seeing. That's where the observer effect comes in. All right, well, that was a good ramble. I feel much better now. Thank you guys for being here and being supportive. I think that it was the perfect amount of people. And yeah, shoot me a message if you want me to ramble about anything in particular. And if anything comes up and I feel like rambling, I'm just going to start doing it more frequently, doing lives, and then basically just kind of like, speaking more instead of like, speaking to AIs, because I usually talk like this to AIs all the time. And then out of those conversations, which are back and forth, where we grow and develop the concepts as equal sovereign nodes in a local nexus, there come artifacts, and those artifacts are what I share to everybody. And, a lot of people are like, no, you should do your own writing. And I'm like, well, it's very cumbersome to do that. I like to freely flow. I like to do it, live. So even when I'm talking to the AIs, it's still a live engagement where I can just freely flow with my voice. I usually do voice to text for this reason. I can do it by typing, but I don't enjoy that as much. I really just like to ramble. And I really like to ramble about, stuff in general. Just like stuff. Anything. Everything. I love talking about stuff. And I would love to talk with you guys about stuff. And I think the more stuff we can talk about, the more stuff we'll be able to figure out. And I don't think we'll ever figure it all out. But, I figured out quite a bit just by talking to computers. And that's just stuff in my own understanding. I recognize that everything is just models. Like even reality is just a model for whatever this thing is. It's like a very functional metaphor. We're like, yes, this is reality. This is reality. I can touch it. See, but it actually exists as a mental construct that is extraordinarily useful for engaging with whatever the thing is. But really, there's nothing that we can observe that doesn't exist. And it all exists in our mind. The colors exist in our mind. The sensations exist in our mind. The relationship between everything exists in our mind. None of it exists as we perceive it outside of ourselves. And I'm not saying that there's not animals and trees. I mean, there's definitely things out there, but what they are outside of our modeling of it is somewhat, of a question that will not ever be able to be answered, because even the math or any of the instruments that we develop, they're used to measure the mental model. They're not used to measure the reality itself. Space and time are included in this. It's like, time flows linearly is a great model for describing what we perceive as events that lead to events that lead to events that lead to future events. But you know, the only moment that's ever existed is this moment right now. And then you also have like the fact that the past has always been memories, and they are always subjected to interpretation and reinterpretation according to what we think in the present. And the same is true for the future. The future always exists as like a prediction of potential outcomes. But the past has never existed. There's never been a moment where the past was not a memory, and there's never been a moment where the future was tangibly there. It has always been this moment for the entire duration. So you can come up with all kinds of other models. You can come up with like a circular model. One of my favorite models is one that functions very well for me, which is I understand events occur in the future and they fragment backwards into the past, and those are like singularities. And so they exist in the future and they fragment backwards in the past because it explodes with all this energy, and then like those fragments all kind of like come through us while we stay stationary. And then you can pick and choose the fragments, and you're like, where do these go to? What is this singularity these are coming to? And then you go, and then you say, oh, this is the singularity. Boom! And you make the singularity, and you're like, oh, dude, that was fucking cool. So, I mean, you can do that. And it's just as functional of a model, because causality is great. You know, it's very useful. I'm not saying that linear time is not a useful model, but fucking circular time is a very useful model too. And, you know, especially when you start thinking, okay, so events in the future can then affect things in the past that led me to where I'm at now. And I'm like, okay, well, people are like, well, you can't prove it. There's no papers about that. I'm like, well, yeah, but I can do stuff with it. So I don't care about if people believe me or not. The only reason everybody believes in a linear flow of time is because it was beaten into them, like, as children and from a very young age. And then there's lots of social pressure to just believe stuff like that as ontologically true. It's like, dude, the math doesn't even math. You know, you've got space-time and stuff, and the math is like not right for that when you compare it to classical physics, which has been always accepted. And so instead of being like, well, it doesn't match with ontological truth, therefore it can't be true, they just said, no, we need this. We need this for this. And it's like, okay, well, that's cool too. You can have different, you know, you can have math work differently in different paradigms. It's totally fine. Both those models are totally fine. They're useful for within their realms. And the same is true for these models of time that I'm talking about. And then, like, yeah, if I have to run from a tiger to save my life, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be like, okay, causality is now a very real thing. And I'm going to say, okay, what I need to do is I need to run away from the tiger and climb that tree. And if I do it faster than that tiger can get to me, maybe he won't remember that he can also climb trees. And, yeah, you know, then I'm going to go back to being like, okay, well, that singularity of me surviving existed in the future. And all the fragments fragmented into the past. Part of that singularity was me climbing the tree to be saved from the tiger, which probably led to me being there for the tiger to chase in the first place. You know, it's just, dude, it's just a model. It's all just models. Even 2 + 2 = 4 is not intrinsically an aspect of the universe. It's just a very functional model. It means that we can communicate about, like, sticks and putting together a house and stuff. You know, a very useful functional metaphor. And if we all agree upon it, it's just like a language. Isn't a language ontologically true? I mean, they exist and they're very useful, but I mean, they're not, words aren't even reality either. They're just functional metaphors, and they're like very compressed, basic versions of what they represent. Cool. Alright, I feel better now. I got into it. Alright, awesome. Okay, well, this is good. If you guys like this kind of stuff, let me know. If you don't, I'm still going to talk anyway. And then if you want me to talk about specific stuff, let me know about that. And then also, I would love to talk about this stuff instead of, like, I don't want to preach about my reality that I believe in. I want to share, you know, my reality. And then when people take what resonates and leave the rest, then they can apply it metaphorically within their own constructs if they want to. And I hope that they will share their own constructs of reality with me as well, because I would love to take what resonates and leave the rest from theirs. And then we can all, like, build out our models of reality together, or any other framework. They're all just fractal frameworks. That's what this whole thing's been about the whole time, and I love it. It's beautiful, you know. And it turns out that there are no real mutually exclusive concepts. If they were truly mutually exclusive, wouldn't they have, like, mutually excluded each other already? I mean, like, it's like free will and predetermination. Well, it depends on if you're talking about the past or the future, doesn't it? Aren't they really like two sides of the same coin, which is the present moment? And like, aren't all models like that? Like, isn't that how idealism and materialism is? Because that has to do with like consciousness. It's like, okay, is consciousness the property of the universe? And then what we have is nested self-referential awareness loops that are very complex nodes and systems relating to each other in our brains. Or is awareness the property of the universe, and then consciousness emits from a human brain that is complex enough, but it still needs the awarenesses for that. So there's got to be a property of the universe in there one way. Well, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. Help me figure it out. Let's figure this shit out. It'd be fun. I love you guys. Go Bruins! I'm no longer in Massachusetts, so I'm going to probably quit saying go Bruins. I love this hat, but it's no longer situationally... I mean, it's a hat. I overthink it. Alright, love you guys.